Welcome to The Lazy Girl Library, the podcast where reading is a pleasure and captivating adventures happen from the comfort of your couch. I'm your host, Darby.
And I'm Michaela.
And if you've ever spent more time rearranging your bookshelf than your priorities, then you, my friend, are in the right place.
Hi, Darby.
Hi, Michaela.
How we doing?
We're doing good.
First book talk of 2025.
I'm excited.
Whoa,
Jinx.
So growing up, I never really did the Jinx, you can't talk. I only did Jinx, you owe me a soda. Mm-hmm. But when I met my husband, when they say I think it's my husband, when you say Jinx at the same time, you can't talk until someone says your name or something like that. Something along the, I don't really remember. But
I've heard of that. We don't do that.
No.
It's just more the fun, hey, Jinx.
Yeah. Anywho.
Welcome back, everybody. This is a fun one. So, literally, because we are going to be talking about That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs.
Heck yeah. Before we get into it, though, how about a little check-in? What's your 5-star and 1-star moment of the week?
So, we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. I'm going to start on the 1, and we'll end on the good note with the 5. Mm-hmm. So, my 1-star right now, wedding florists. Florists are driving me crazy this week, next week, into all of the weeks. It's so hard trying to research who's in budget, what, flowers cost, just the whole bundling and everything like that. A lot of them require you to, set up phone call appointments to talk about it specifically so they can give you a specific quote. But if you have a minimum of, $3,000, then why can't you just send me the brochure like every other vendor stating that, but then also specifying prices are variant on what you want and dependent on all of that. Let's chat to figure that out. But at least I know at that point whether you're in my budget or out of my budget. So that way we're not wasting either of our times by setting up a call. If you're out of my budget.
Exactly.
It's driving me crazy.
Also, you know what I'm thinking about too, because we were discussing this beforehand and I hadn't thought about. It's almost Valentine's Day too. This is peak season for florists.
Yeah.
So they're probably so busy that their prices are hiked up anyway because floral prices are, which that probably wouldn't affect you for your contract, but yeah, it's just not a good time to be talking with florists.
No, you're so right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I'm an introvert. I hate talking on the phone. It's the bane of my existence. So the fact that to get any information from anybody, I have to schedule all these phone calls is just, and half the time they're not even available on the weekends anyway. So you have to schedule it within the work day. Exactly. I don't want to have to talk to more people on the phone on the time where it's my quiet silence time in my car. No. Real frustrating. That's been my 1-star. Florist, you're on my list. My 5-star though this week,
the voice octave change.
We're on a positive, happy, light note now.
Michaela has entered the building.
I feel like this week has been really filled with fun friendship things going on. So our friend Madison, we get together once a month because we're watching the Harry Potter series together. So we just had that this past Friday.
Love that.
Which was really fun. And she got me Guess Who ACOTAR edition for our Secret Santa, and we played. That was so much fun.
Okay, we have to play before I leave.
Absolutely. It's so much fun. So that was really nice.
Maybe we'll post a photo on the Instagram. It looks so cool.
Yeah, we should. I'll see I think they have the artist on there too, so we'll try to tag them or shout them out. But the art's really cool. So that was really fun. And then I had a little check-in heart-to-heart with our friend Sarah, just over text, but just kind of a love you, miss you kind of thing. That was really nice and really sweet. And then we got to go and hang out together this weekend on a double date, which is super fun.
The most magical place on earth.
I'm so happy that you guys got Disney passes now. So
makes fun of us. I'm just kidding. I'm not typically a big Disney person, but we're giving it a go.
Yep.
And I did have fun on Saturday. I did have a good time.
If anything, just means we get to go drinking around the world more.
Yeah.
So, but that was really fun.
Was
fun.
I
feel my 5-star is just fun friend moments this week that just kind of filled my cup. So what about you, Darby?
That's great. I'll start with my 1-star as well. It's not really a 1-star for me, but Justin is really sick. He's not feeling well, so I'm playing Dr. Derbs. So yeah, it's just like, it's sad when, you know, someone is sick and you can like physically see it. You're like, oh, like, feel better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So
because there's like nothing you can really do for him.
I'm such a helper that I'm like, I can only like get you Advil and refill your water so many times, and then I feel like I'm not doing anything. But just trying to be there for him. Even though I'm not there right now.
I'm doing great. It's okay.
But yes, that's my 1 star. Hope he feels better. My 5 star, I don't know. I think, so work, I'm entering event season, which can sometimes be a 1 star because it's like a lot. But at the same time, it's also 5 star right now because we're getting into all of the fun stuff. And I plan fundraising events for those who might not know. And so it's really impactful when the event actually happens. And that's where a lot of fundraising happens. And it just has such a big impact on our mission. So it's really cool and it's really fun to get into like the logistics that are closer to the event because, you know, it's less like emailing and more like site visits and ordering collateral and the signs and the shirts.
All starting to come together kind of. Yeah.
So that's really exciting. A little stressful, but exciting. So it's a 5 star this week.
Love that.
Ask me again in like 2 weeks. But
it might be a different answer.
Yeah, right now it's a 5 star. So
well, that's exciting. Sounds fun. We're going to talk about fun. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs, which was our book club book for this month. So we're going to answer some book club-esque questions about the book and give our final star ratings. If you're on our Fable, you probably have a good idea of our thoughts on this book already. And if you're not on our Fable, you should definitely come and join us, the Lazy Girl Library. That's where we'll have every book for our month. Then we'll add all of our thoughts as we're reading, and we'd love to connect with more of you. So come join us there. But other than that, let's get into it.
Yes, let's do that. Okay, so we'll do a little reading recap. So I'm going to read the book description on the back of the book.
It's kind of hard to do a reading recap with this one like we normally do because it's nonfiction.
Yeah.
So I think the back of the book is probably the best description of it.
I agree. All right. We know there are certain things we must have to survive. Food, shelter, and safety, to name a few. But there are also aspects of life that truly allow us to be joyful and fulfilled. For popular podcaster and best-selling author Annie F. Downs, fun is close to the top of that list. Few would argue that having fun doesn't enrich our lives, but so much gets in the way of prioritizing it. Tough days, busyness, and feelings that are hard to talk about keep us from the fun that's out there waiting to be found. With That Sounds Fun, Annie offers an irresistible invitation to understand the meaning of fun, to embrace it and chase it, and to figure out what, exactly, sounds fun to you. Then do it. Exploring some research and sharing some thoughts behind why fun matters, she shows you how to find, experience, and multiply your fun. With her signature storytelling style and whimsical vulnerability, Annie is the friend we all need to guide us back to staying true to ourselves and finding the fun we need.
I could listen to you read all day.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I love doing it.
Yeah. You're so good at
There's a reason I do the book readings for all of our listeners out there. I'm obsessed with it. I love to talk.
And I could listen to you all day, so it works.
What were your initial thoughts on the book?
So I enjoyed the general messaging of this book, but it was kind of a letdown for me. I think there were some fun tidbits that I kind of took away, and there were a few good, like, hard-hitting quotes that I definitely highlighted to go back to that just kind of, like, hit you really well. But yeah, overall, it was just disappointing. I can see why she's a successful podcaster, because I felt like it was written very much like that, but that kind of, like, didn't work for me personally when I'm reading a book. It didn't give me as much like helpful tips that I was looking for. It felt more like I'm reading her diary than it did like, this is how to make more time for fun or how to find things that are fun for you kind of thing that I was expecting going into it. So what about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I liked it, but my expectations were just so much higher, especially because I actually have listened to her on a podcast before, and she is a great podcaster, and I really liked her. But yeah, I got some good nuggets, but I wanted to be fed.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want just, like, little side dish. Like, I was wanting a full meal. And
I love that.
Thank you. And I feel like like you said, we just got some tidbits, a couple of nuggets of sentences, whereas the full meal wasn't served is my best analogy for that.
No, I get that. Did you have a favorite part of it?
Yeah. So I really liked how she discussed gratitude and God and, like, showing glimpses of Eden, which I felt like worked really well in the beginning. She kind of focuses on Eden, so in, like, a spiritual sense, like faith-wise, but then if you're not spiritual, just kind of like that place of peace, I think, is how you could relate that.
Like nirvana, kind of.
Yeah. And so I really liked how she talked about gratitude and how, like, God shows you glimpses of Eden and you can, like, to take them. And I was talking with my therapist a couple weeks ago about gratitude, and she was saying that that's been proven, like that's, like, one of the only thing that you can do to, like, make your brain happier is, like, practicing gratitude.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was just fun. I liked that. And then I also really liked hearing the definition of a hobby. And how it's, like, what you do when you have leisure time. And it really made me reflect with scrolling, which I'm not doing this year. I'm not doing social media. But it just makes me think of, like, in my leisure and my downtime, what are my hobbies? And then thinking, like, I'm literally going to say I scroll on and, like, I use my phone as a hobby. Like, that's totally fine if you do. I definitely have as well. But to me, I was like, oh, I'm cringed out by that. Like, I don't want that to be my hobby. So it put it in a different perspective of thinking, like, this is my leisure and downtime, and this is something I'm choosing to do. And it's like, that's what a hobby is like what you do in your leisure. And I don't want to scroll. So anyway, yeah, those are two parts that I really enjoyed. Yeah. What about you?
I definitely, when I was reading this, I definitely thought about you a lot, because I feel like she had a lot of the same ideas and mentalities that, like, you kind of already had, like, and we talk about all the time, or, like, the leisure time, you're such, like, a trying new things kind of person. So I thought about you a lot when we were reading this.
Annie girl, we're twins.
Yeah.
Have me on your podcast. Have us both on your podcast.
Yes, let's talk. My favorite part, I really enjoyed the beginning of the book, like you said. I think that was probably the best part of it. She really found, like, her groove and, like, starting it off. And I really especially like the part about childhood nostalgia and
that was
where,
really good.
yeah, and, like, how that ties into fun and, like, finding joy. It's definitely a part that I related to. And it's, like, sad that as we grow older, we kind of lose out on that mentality that we had when we were younger for fun. And so trying to find, like, your way back to it, and, like, how nostalgia kind of ties into your definition of fun, because it's, like, being nostalgic also is, like, nostalgic for that feeling of peace that you found when you were younger and doing things that were fun. And so that's what you kind of, like, try to go towards more. Yeah. I liked that sentiment a lot. So,
and I think it goes back to the gratitude thing too, of, like, being grateful for that nostalgia of, like, oh, like, I got to do that, like, or oh, I have these memories. Like,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So yeah, that was my favorite part.
And what about your least favorite part?
The love section. She
The
kind
whole
of, like,
book?
she kind of, like, separated it into, like, different sections, and, like, yeah, she kind of does like blend into all of them, but there is, like, a specific, like, love section, and it was just way too diary for me. She very much, like, lost the point and the connection she was making at the start of the book, especially to, like, the Eden part. I started to, like, not understand her definition anymore, or the way she was using it. And like, even if I was single, because I know that was, like, a lot of her struggles that she was talking about, being single and, like, trying to live an adult life, that, you know, you want to get married and have kids, but, like, not having that, and how much you save versus how much, if you keep saving, who knows what the future will hold. So, like, do it now, have fun, and be spontaneous, kind of thing. Even if I was single, I feel like there weren't very many actual items that I could have taken away to help me with it. It was more just, like, something you're relating to because somebody's going through the same thing as you. So that was kind of a meh part for me. What about you?
I would agree. Being freshly married, it was hard to relate to her singleness. And I think I wouldn't have disliked this section so much if she hadn't had said that, like, she doesn't want to be defined as, like, the single, like, girl. But then you go on to, like, talk about that
all the time.
Yeah. So it was just kind of, like, a catch-22 type of situation. And maybe if I was single, I would have like enjoyed that part more, but at the same time I feel like the pacing and the multitude of stories, like personal stories, just made the plot hard to follow.
I agree.
Like you were saying, I didn't really know where she was going, especially in that love section. I was like, what is, like, the train's moving and we're off the rails. Like, I don't know, like, what, I really don't know what that had to do with hobbies and fun.
I don't either. It was, she really lost me. And like, she would try to tie it back in the very, very end, but like it was within like 2 to 3 sentences, so it definitely wasn't enough of a full thought to like connect it by any means.
Because I've read a lot of faith-based books that are story-based, you know, where it is you relate to them in some way, but it's
kind of like the Grace Thornton book that
and the Love Does by Bob Goff, he does a really good job. There was one story where he was talking about like, I don't remember if it was him or his son, but like someone had to like fly an airplane and do like an emergency landing.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, I obviously can't relate to that, but then this section, like at the end, that ties it back together, I so related to it and understood what he was saying.
Right.
But it was less like, I don't know if she was trying to make her stories, like, so relatable that's, like, it could happen to you. Like, but it just,
To me, I think
I don't want to be mean, but it just, like, wasn't done well in comparison to other faith-based books I've read.
I agree.
With stories.
I think it was, like, she was getting too much in her feelings almost when she was writing it, that she kind of, like, lost her author hat in the process of it, and like really did make it more of like a diary and like dumping your emotions into it kind of thing.
Because it's great to be vulnerable. I will tell anybody I'm an open book. Ask me anything, I'll tell you anything. And like, I think that's a great attribute, but it has to go with the plot. Like, it has to, if you started out talking about like pandas, you can't start talking about like
cheese danishes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. And then try to say that your cheese danish was in the shape of a panda. Like, it's not working.
Exactly.
Like, you know?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah. No, I totally agree. But to kind of talk about the fun parts of the book, because that is the whole point of the book.
I think.
We think. How do you define fun in your own life? And like, has that definition changed for you as you've gotten older?
This was like hard for me to define, because like I kept being like, well, actually, like when I was trying to define it, but I think doing something fun is something that typically doesn't make me feel sad, which I guess is just saying like the opposite, like of what fun would be is something sad. Anyway, but I do think that like fun can bring a bit of fear or anxiety, like that can come with doing fun things. Kind of like what I was saying, my 5-star moment, like work, it can be so fun, but it can be scary. These are really big events and they do have such an impact on our community and on our mission. But like, it's still fun. Like the events are so fun. And, so I don't know. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
The definition of it for me, but
it's something you don't think about being hard. Like if somebody just asked you off the top of your head, you're like, yeah, like fun. Yeah. But then, like you said, when you start really thinking about it and trying to, it is hard because it's more complex than just like happy, sad kind of thing.
Yeah. I think too, fun can be considered like accomplishing like a want. Like this isn't something I need to do, but it's something I want to do. So that I guess is kind of my definition of like doing something fun is doing something I want to do. I don't have to do. I'm realizing that I didn't write notes on the second half of this question, but thinking about if my definition has changed growing up or as I've gotten older, I'm sure it has, but I don't know if I can like pinpoint a way. I think I find things fun now that I wouldn't have thought were fun when I was younger. But then at the same time, as later on some other questions we're talking about, there are lots of fun things that I did when I was younger that I still love to do.
Right. Like reading.
Yeah, like performing is a big one of those, whether it's like being the person that gets to read the back of the book, like because I get to speak, stuff like that. So It's definitely changed, but I'm also still like a kid at heart, and I still think I have a lot of the same like sense of fun that I had.
I think fun when you're a kid is something that's just like second nature inherent. You don't have to think about it. It just is. Versus like when you get older, you kind of lose that time. And so therefore you become more aware of like what's fun. And so like you don't necessarily have a definition when you're a kid because it just
everything
is.
can be fun.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good.
Like when you're older, like that's when you like, it's the nostalgia part of it and you're going back and reminiscing and like that was fun. And like, so that the nostalgia kind of helps you create the definition of fun.
Oh, I like that, Michaela.
Thank you.
Tell me more. Tell me more about your definition of fun. And
so fun to me, if I had to think about it, would be something that doesn't feel like a chore. Like if I feel like I have to do something, even if it's something that I enjoy, then it's not fun to me. Because like if it's like reading, like I love to read, that's fun to me most times. But if I feel like I have to read something, it takes away that fun for me. So I think it's like the free will part of it that like if it feels like a chore, it's not fun. But if I'm choosing to do it, then like that kind of like adds to the fun of it.
It's like when you have to do like when you're in school and you had to do homework and you're like, I don't want to do this, but then you're playing teacher with like your sibling and you're like doing math problems. You're like, this is so fun.
Yes, exactly. It's all like the context of it. Or like you plan on going to do the dishes, but as soon as your mom asks you to do the dishes, you're like, well, now I don't want to do the dishes. It's the same kind of mentality. So that's like fun for me. And I think as I've gotten older, it's kind of like the double-edged sword because it has kind of become a chore to make time for fun. So that can be kind of hard to like separate the fun from like the chore of making time for fun itself. But I still think like the core of what's fun has been the same for me as like from a kid to now.
I think too, as you were saying that, a challenge, sometimes there's a lot of fun things that you want to do with other people. And the challenge when you get older, it's harder to plan out those things. So I can totally see that.
Yeah. Or it's like you only have so many hours in a day. And so then it's stressful trying to like delegate all of that to like your responsibilities, things you have to do, and like carving out that you have to be more mindful to carve out that time as an adult, which can be stressful because you know that you need to and you want to because you want to have that fun. But it can be hard to like actually put that in place. But it's so worth it because then once you get to do the fun, then obviously that brings you the joy and the happiness.
But then sometimes like fun things can be, because I feel like too, when we're talking about this, I'm thinking of like, you have to make time for it. It's like, oh, I have to make time to go out somewhere, go do things with people. But it can be just like, oh, I can do a face mask. Like, oh, I can paint my nails. Like, that's fun. You know?
Just like taking time for yourself to do fun things. Yeah.
Something I want to do.
So speaking of joy, Annie writes about the importance of rediscovering joy and fun. What's an activity or hobby that you loved as a child that you haven't done in like years, and what's stopping you from doing it now?
Yeah, so I kind of like teased this, but performing, whether that be any sort of like acting or dancing. I grew up cheerleading all my life, and so there was a lot of dance involved in that. And I think what's stopping me is the busyness right now. But I am hoping, so this is like more of a recent development, but I'm trying to do like a new hobby each year, just like try something new. So I am hoping to incorporate some sort of like performance sport into my summer or fall.
Love.
So I'm thinking this year it'll be either like ice skating or aerial silks, which I know is not acting or dancing. And I actually did look into acting and improv classes, but the one I want to go to is on Thursday nights, and I play soccer on Thursday nights. So there will be a time for that. And I think that was, you know, an intervention saying like, no, stick to the ice skating and aerial silks idea.
But it's still kind of within the same realm of it and like the performing aspect of it.
Yeah. So definitely like acting and dancing. And it's so hard because it's not even that I do enjoy attention, but not even just like that. But it's like I want to learn choreography and then I want to do it.
Right.
And I cannot make Justin and my dog Bogey sit there while I'm like, look at this YouTube video. I could, but it's not going to give me the same feeling as I want. So
you can show me anytime.
Perfect. And then also one more I was thinking of is crafts, which I still would consider myself like a crafty person, But I think now what's changed from doing crafts for fun back then and doing it now is I feel like there needs to be a purpose for the craft. Like, why am I making this? What am I going to use it towards? Or I feel like I have to like try and make money off of it somehow.
It's like the culture now. Like everything has to be like a side hustle.
Yeah, like how am I going to make this like passive income?
Yeah.
You know? Where it's like, okay, well, just do it because like it looks pretty and it's fun. You're doing something with your fingers.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I hate it's kind of a tangent. I hate the notion of like find something that you're passionate about or love and you'll never work a day in your life. That is such a lie because it goes back all to the thing where it's like if it feels like a chore and you have to do it, it takes away the fun. So it could be like something that you absolutely love, like macrame at Derby's Designs.
Don't go there. I won't respond. That does not exist.
But it's like fun in the moment. But as soon as you add that like monetary value that everybody tries, like adding the side hustle aspect to it, it almost makes it a chore and takes away from the fun of it. So no, I totally get that.
What about you? What are
similar kind of mindset. I was a very creative driven child, so I loved like dance, creating art, doing craft projects, like
what I'm hearing is we need to go take dance classes together.
I don't know about dance, but like pottery. I know you were on the pottery kick for a while. That's something that like I might go do with you kind of thing, because that is something that it's like hard for me at least to find time to set aside for those things now. And a lot of times too, like my creativity gets turned off if my brain is too stressed out. Like I have too many responsibilities or things that I'm thinking about, or like I'm just like too much going on, then my brain can't like breathe to like feel that creative process to create something, which I think even if I do carve out the time makes it even more frustrating because it's like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I've found as an adult, it's almost like you have too much autonomy sometimes with some of these creative things. Like I loved pottery and I'll definitely go back and take more classes. But one of my cons of it was that they weren't telling me what to make. And so it was like, okay, cool, I can make anything. I don't know how to make anything.
Right.
Like, what? So
versus like when you're a kid, you don't even think about it. You just go.
Yeah. Or because you need to learn like the fundamentals, it's like, okay, let's make a ghost because it's Halloween. Like, but yeah, so I can totally see that too. It's just, it's hard.
It makes it challenging. But I think something that I'm going to try to start this year is like being more mindful and like meditating, at least like taking 10 minutes to like try it out, because my brain is so hyperactive. Like I need a breath sometimes. So I'm going to try that out, and I'm hoping maybe like I can make it a tandem thing where if I meditate and then try to do something creative, it'll start coming back to me a little bit because I have to carve out the time for it anyway. Then maybe like the two can work in tandem for one kind of thing.
What's so funny is I'm thinking about this book you got me for my birthday one year, and it was like a breath and prayer type of book. And I have used it. I haven't I'm not like a daily person to use it, but I have used it, and it talks about like the different breathing techniques, and I'm almost like, well, let me get you the same book because I've really enjoyed it. And if you're trying to meditate, I think you would really enjoy it too.
Yeah. Maybe I'll check it out. I'll have to go back and find it. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to like rediscover, at least for myself, is like get back into the creative.
Well, even for your birthday when we made bookmarks, like that was fun and creative.
But like even so with that, I got so much in my head, remember?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. We have a like super artist friend that like we're crafty. We're not artists.
No.
I say that all the time. Like my sister's an artist. Our friend Shelby's an artist. We're craft girls.
Shelby Swigert, go check her out on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Does it all. But she was doing bookmarks with us. So that's hard too. Just seeing like her whip out something and you're like, should I do one polka dot or two polka dots?
She was already through like 5 of them, and I was still on like my second. And I'm like, I'm still struggling to try to even conceptualize what I'm doing for this second one.
And like they're so intricate too. And she didn't even have to look on Pinterest. I'm on Pinterest like, what does a bookmark simple design look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Fantasy bookmark simple.
I think I just get too much in my head about it, because I think what I struggle with the most is it used to come so easy, and now it doesn't, because like the adult mind is so different than a child's mind. And so I think it's like reconciling with that and finding giving myself grace from where I'm at and like finding a new way to get back to like that creative space as an adult and stop trying to go back to that creative space that I was at as a kid, because it's not going to be the same. And I think I'm just going to keep getting frustrated in that way.
I used to watch Brain Games in like middle school, and this one sorry, I'm having lots of tangents.
No, yeah, I love it.
But there was one episode, and I don't remember all of it, but it was on like creativity, and they had like a circle and two blobs on a sheet of paper, and they asked adults, like, how many things can you make with this? Like, basically, like, finding pictures in the clouds. Like, what's that called again? Cloud watching?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, like, cloud watching, but on the paper. Like, how many things can you make out of this? And they made, like, 3, 5, maybe 7. And, like, all of the kids made, like, 23 different things they could see. And it did show that, like, as you get older, creativity, like, lessons. I was like, whoa, crazy. Make me a kid again.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's this nostalgia for it. I miss it. But I need to, like, get out of that trying to go back to it, because you grow out of it, and that's okay.
But I also think it's something that, like, can be stretched out in practice. So look at the clouds more. Like, try and see something.
Try to find shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to connect back with my inner child.
Don't we all?
So in the book, Annie, speaking of connections, connects fun to gratitude and faith. So what's one way that you've seen joy deepen your faith or appreciation for life?
Yeah, I think the fact that my faith brings me joy, and that knowing, like, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm loved, and, like, there are just endless reasons to be grateful every day. Even in the times, like, there's a thing in, like, the Christian community, which I hope I'm not, like, butchering things. I am not, like, a preacher, but where, you know, you find joy in the sadness. And when you're in, like, these dark episodes, you're still finding joy with the Lord. And it's not because of what you're going through, but it's just because of, like, your faith in Him. And, like, God is who breathed life into us. Without Him, we would be nothing.
Or even, like, on a non-Christian side of that, I just immediately thought of Inside Out, and the entire plot of the first movie is, like, you have to have sadness to find joy, and you have to have the joy to, like, you can't have the joy without the sadness to feel too, because you can't appreciate the one without the other.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for saying that side.
Welcome.
But yeah, so I think just for me, faith is definitely more like religious, but
no, absolutely.
So I think just knowing that, like, He's the reason why I'm here. He's the reason I know you. He's the reason I get to read books. He's the reason I know what fun is. That just makes me, like, more grateful for Him and just more faith-filled. But
absolutely.
So that's my vulnerable deep side of that question.
I love it.
What about you?
Love getting deep. I think on, like, kind of like a faith religious side of it, joy kind of helps me, at least personally, like, slow down my, like, life and, like, time, and so I appreciate more of the details and the little things. So, like, if I had, like, a good day at work and I'm driving home, I'm more happy and satisfied, so I'm more, like, aware of, like, the gorgeous sunset when I'm driving home, and, like, I take a moment to be like, thanking God for, like, this beautiful sunset and blessing my day in this way. Versus, like, if I'm stressed out and, like, distracted and I'm, like, not paying attention to those things. So I think joy really helps me, like, slow down, take a breath, and, like, look outside and, like, appreciate, like, the wonders that God has created for me. But it kind of, like, going back to the other side of that too, that's not necessarily faith-based for all of our friends who aren't as religious. You just need the balance, because you truly can't appreciate, like, good days without the bad days. They always have, like, the cheesy saying, like, you can't have a rainbow without the rain, but, like, it's so true. Like,
April showers bring me flowers.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you can't know what joy is without feeling, like, that sadness or the grief with that, because otherwise, if you just feel happy and joy all the time, then you kind of become numb to it. It doesn't have that same meaning that it does.
Yeah, kind of like how you have faith, like, when you go to bed, you're gonna wake up and the sun will be there, like that type of thing too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love how you articulated your thoughts with that question.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Really enjoyed that.
So yeah, it's all about the balance, though. That's kind of, like, my takeaway.
I like that.
So Annie talks about embracing the freedom of being an amateur. Is there something new you've tried recently where you allowed yourself to not be perfect? And I have to say, when I was writing this question, I really thought of you, because this whole part of the book, I feel like you do so well.
Thanks. That's so nice.
So with that, the floor is yours, Darby.
Okay. Well, kind of already like talked about it just a little bit, but so last year I did pottery. I've never done pottery, and this was like we worked on the wheel and then also just like hand crafting as well. But I think going into it with an amateur mindset made it so much more fun to fail. Like, I don't really like anything I made, like, at all. But that's okay, because I went into it knowing like I wasn't necessarily gonna like anything. Like, these all were just like practice pieces.
Yeah.
And so there are some that I literally just threw away. The wheel is really hard. And I need to take more classes because I'm still an amateur and a novice. But when I was doing the wheel, I made like the smallest pots ever. Somehow all of this clay turned into this tiny little like warped shot glass is what it looks like. But Justin uses it as his ketchup holders. And it's so cute. But so I think just going into it with that mindset of like, I'm not doing this to sell the pottery. I'm not doing this to showcase it. Like, I'm just doing this to learn and play.
Yeah.
Like, that made it so much more fun to be like, oh, shoot, like, that's ugly, or like, that has a crack. I'm like, all right, well, we'll try again on the next one.
Right.
So that, yeah, I really, really liked the freedom that it gave me. I think it's all about the expectations going into it, of just, for me at least, of like, okay, I'm not trying to be a professional. If that happens one day and I become a pro pottery person, that's so cool. But I'm so new and I'm just trying it out. And like I mentioned earlier, ice skating or aerial silks, that will be my new challenge this year.
I can't wait to see how it goes for you.
No, I'm excited. I think I'm going to do ice skating.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll come watch.
I'll perform for you.
I love it.
Okay, what about you?
So I'm the complete opposite of you. I struggle with this so much personally. But that's why I think like I'm so appreciative of you, because you are so good about it. Like, you're constantly trying new things and you're just like, I'm good at it. I'm good at it. If I'm not, then like I'm having fun doing it. And like my brain does not work that way. I am an all or nothing. I'm either really good at it to start off with, and if I'm not, well then we're done and I'm not doing it again kind of thing. And I think like part of it is like, it's like ego gets in the way, pride, like you feel like embarrassed because you're not good at it. But it's like you have to give yourself that grace and remind yourself that it's okay. Like, everybody is an amateur at something. And like, it's meant to be fun. Like, it's not, you're not meant to like make money off of it or do it professionally. Like, and even professionals like had to start somewhere kind of thing. So I need to be better about having that mindset. And it helps having a friend like you to remind me of that. And they give me like the confidence when we go to try new things that like, it's okay. It's just for fun. So I appreciate you for that.
I think you've gotten better since I've known you.
Thank you. I feel like I'm definitely not all the way there. I have a lot of work to go, but I do think that I've gotten better than I was, for sure.
It is a lot of like, at least for me, because I don't, and I'm not perfect either. There are lots of things that I'm still so like embarrassed to try, or like I don't want to do certain things. But I think it really helped growing up. Like, one thing that shifted my mindset is I always used to be like, well, what if people see me like fail, or what if like everyone else is so good at this and I'm not going to be? But like 99% of the time, no one's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves doing the same exact thing. So like, this is like made up, but say I'm going to go play golf with Justin, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit it once, it went in the water, like now I'm gonna try and hit it again. Justin could care less. He's probably like, dang, I hit it. It went 2 degrees to the left. I wanted it.
He's analyzing his own shot.
Yeah. So that used to help me with like public speaking too, like speeches or presenting in class. Because it's like, oh, what if I stutter? And it's like, everyone's thinking about their speech that they have to do. So even if like you're like with a pro at something and you know nothing, they're not like thinking poorly on you. They're probably criticizing themselves, or they're just excited that you're out there doing something that they love, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. That was something that like helped me, because I definitely, like most people, are like, what are other people gonna think?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it sounds so easy to be like, well, don't care what they think, but it's different in the moment.
It's something you have to continually remind yourself, and it is something I have to continually remind myself. Is like, as much every time I start getting in my head about things, like even if it's not stuff that you're amateur, but like how many times do like especially women have like anxiety after a group outing, and you're like thinking about, oh, that was such a stupid thing to say, like I hope people didn't take this wrong way, and it's like, but I'm only thinking about me. So it's kind of like having to take yourself out of it and think, if I'm only thinking about me and my interactions, then like obviously everybody else is only thinking about that too, and nobody's thinking about the things that I am.
I think every time we have a girl hang out with our full group of girls, we all hang out, and then it's like 30 minutes later, we're all like, hey, sorry if I was being weird. Yeah. like all of us are like, hey, sorry if I said something, and everyone's like, no, you weren't weird at all. I'm sorry if I did it. And it's like, everyone was fine. Yeah. Everyone was fine. But it's like,
we all just get too much in our heads about it.
It's crazy, the insecurities that can come out when you're just, when like it's a fun evening, like we all had so much fun together, and then you leave and it's like the enemy or something inside of you is telling you like, oh, remember when you said that you like this? They all know, like,
right,
blah 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 blah, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then you're like, none of them actually like me, none of them are my friend.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, I'm sure this is something I need to unpack in therapy. But, like...
Hey, that's what this podcast is for.
But it's like
Maybe we have a therapist listening.
Honestly, if we do, I would love your thoughts and analysis on this.
We'll send you a 20 for your thoughts.
But it's the, like, also, I love, like, words of affirmation, or like being praised for being good at something. And so when you're an amateur and you're like obviously not doing like as great, then you're not receiving that, like those words of affirmation that you're doing well. So therefore I'm like, okay, but I don't want, like, if I'm not being praised, that means that like I'm not perfect, and that means I don't want it at all. Like, I'm done.
Okay, but on another side of that, I feel like if we were to do something and I would still praise you, you would still be hypercritical of yourself.
Absolutely. That's a problem with myself.
So like, I don't know in that scenario, like even if the praise wasn't necessarily like analytical, but more just like, this is so great that you're out here doing this.
Yeah.
Or like it's so fun that we're actually out here. I feel like then you'd be like, but I'm not doing good.
You're absolutely right, because that happened at the bookmark night too. So that was
no, I didn't think you were being. I forgot. See, you're the only one who remembered that you were struggling with the bookmarks. Yeah.
No, that's a totally fair point. But on that note, something that I'm giving myself grace with, that I feel like we had like a good talk about too, is this podcast. We are amateur podcasters.
I'm so sorry I don't post enough.
No, this is not.
No, I know.
But like it's like one of those things that when we started it, it was like, I did like part-time work for somebody who's starting a podcast, so immediately my brain went there, and it's like everything we have to do to like make this viable, and
we're
like
gonna get a Patreon.
Yeah, we're all the different things, like being like boss girlies and like trying to
Amazon
make it
storefront.
a side hustle instead of a hobby.
Yeah.
It's the societal norm now that you have to like train your brain to get out of. And so I was in that mindset, and then I was stressing myself out so much because like obviously we're the only ones that are doing like the editing, the posting, anything like that.
Which is 99% mechanical.
But like trying to like find the time to edit things, to schedule it, to put it all out on like the websites, and like finding time to sit down and record too, and read the book all within like a certain time frame. It can get really stressful within life. And so trying to like, I think 2025 is like that new chapter, and we've had like good talks about it where we're like, this is supposed to be for fun. This is a hobby. If it turns into a side hustle later, that's great, but that wasn't the point.
Lazy girls. This is the lazy podcast. You get what you get, and you like it.
Exactly. So it's like, obviously we still want to be consistent for our listeners. And so I'm not saying that you're going to get 2 episodes a month, I promise. But like, if something happens and life gets in the way, like, it's okay. Take a breath, because we're unlike other podcasters who like actually have production companies behind them. Like, we do everything ourselves. So you have to give yourself like that grace with it too while you're still learning and an amateur. Tying that up in a bow.
Yeah. And I'm having fun.
Yeah, me too. This is so fun.
Yeah, it brings me a lot of joy.
Yes.
And speaking about joy, what is something seemingly small in your life that brings you a surprising amount of joy?
I love the little details of everything. I am one of those people that will always notice like the smallest little things or find the pleasure and like the joy in the little things. Like an example with Josh just got a new truck, and when we were in there, I love how big the windows are. Like, that's my favorite part of the truck. And our friend Zach thought that was hysterical. But when Josh told him, he's like, oh, did Michaela like the truck? And she's like, yeah, she loves the big windows. He's like, out of everything for the truck, like all of the like bells and whistles, because it's like a new like 2023 like truck. He's like, the windows are the thing that like I noticed. And so
I love that.
So it's always the little things for me. Like the way like if people are like tying a bow a certain way, like I notice that. Or like the Easter eggs in books and movies. I love finding those. That's why I love Emily McIntyre books so much. Is less for like the dark romance of it and more because of all the connections she ties to like the fairy tales she's retelling. Oh, I live for that. Yeah. So those are like the small things that just like bring me joy. So if you have little details on your page or things like that, hidden Mickeys at Disney, I will find them and notice, and I will appreciate them. So what about you?
I love that about you. And I think before I get into mine, I think that's so fun too, because for some people who do put in the effort to do something hidden or detail oriented, like you're making their day, like finding out, like, or figuring it out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
It's something I had to explain to my mom for like the wedding, because I do get wrapped up in the details sometimes too much, and I understand that. And so it's like kind of taking a step back. But what I had to explain to her is like the details don't matter for people like her who like they aren't going to notice. You're right. And like they're more there for the day itself. But it's something that I will remember about the day that makes it that much more special, like for me. And like, because it's the things that I noticed that bring me the joy.
That's good. Oh, that's good.
Thanks. What about your joy, Darby?
There are so many I like wrote down stuff, and as you were talking, I was thinking of more things.
I love it.
I'm just gonna like rattle off a bunch. Mexican food, dancing in my living room to music, belly laughs with my sister, hearing baby laughs and giggles. Oh, that brings me so much joy. I'm not ready for one, but brings me so much joy.
Our friend Samantha, though, got baby Tate coming.
Oh,
we're so excited.
When someone like gives you a high five or a thumbs up, like that's small, but I just like, oh my gosh, like thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's so fun. When a book can cause me to like make an audible sound, like a, like, you know, like, oh my gosh. And the list just like goes on and on. There are so many fun little joys in life. And it's like,
I feel like you're somebody who is really good about like being able to find gratitude for the little things like that, and like recognizing the joy that the little things bring you. I don't know, like kind of like thinking outside of yourself, because I feel like so many people, myself included, can get wrapped up like in ourselves in our own little world. But I feel like you're really good about like being outside yourself and noticing those things that like spark joy for you.
Yeah, I think part of it, thanks for saying that. I think part of it is like I'm a super big optimist, sometimes too much of like a positive person. My younger sister will tell you that I play devil's advocate a bit too much. She'll be like venting about like someone who was mean to her, and I'm like, maybe they had a bad day, and she's like, Darby, can you be angry with me? And I'm like, yeah, of course, sorry. So I don't know if, and I don't know how I'm wired that way, because this is my biggest pet. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
Nope, love it.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when someone says like, you're too nice. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't, literally, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't, how am I supposed to fix that? Like, you want me to be rude to you? Like,
right.
No, you're just not nice enough. Anyway, so I don't know why I'm wired the way I am. I don't know if I just was like a big people pleaser, and now I just like want everyone to be happy, and I want myself to be happy. So I'm like, everything is positive, which it isn't always. Like, I'm not always happy, but yeah, I don't know if that just ties into being able to like find the positives in all the little things. I think translating to like finding joys.
Your faith helps a lot with it too, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
At least like the way when we have these conversations and things like that, I think like your reminders for me when it comes to stuff like that, it like helps you like I said, see outside the bigger picture of it all.
Thanks. One time I love doing questions and asking questions, as you know, but one time we were doing like questions and someone was asking me something that was like seemingly like a lighthearted question, but a lot of times like it kept getting like brought back to like faith. And one of our guy friends was like, no, Darby, like give us like the real answer. And I'm like, well, that is the real answer. Yeah. Like I can give you like the silly answer that you want, but like it all ties back to that for me. Like that's where the root of everything goes.
Absolutely.
So, but it was just interesting. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the book.
Yeah.
But I'm loving these discussions.
Me too.
They're fun.
I love the tangents. And this was like a good book for tangents because we're having fun.
Because we're having fun and the book wasn't that fun.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
No offense, Annie.
I really did get some good like little nuggets.
Yeah.
But would you read another book by her again?
No, I don't think I would. But I might give her podcast a try because to give Annie credit, as much as I didn't enjoy necessarily her writing in the book, I can see how it would make for a good podcast and how she liked that, or how her podcast would go. So I might give that a try. But what about you?
Same. No, but I would listen to her podcast again. Yeah, seems like such a sweet, happy individual. And like you said, like we've definitely had some similarities, like in listening to like her life stories and the way she viewed certain things in the book. I like really enjoyed that, but I don't know if I would read. I don't think I would read her written work again.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
What about your final thoughts, star rating?
I gave it a 3 stars. I just didn't really get enough out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it because I did get some like highlights and those couple nuggets, like they were fun to like mull over.
Sure.
But yeah, it just wasn't enough for me. What about you?
Same. It was a 2.75 for me. Just because there was too much of I really wanted to try to give it a 3-star because it wasn't bad, but too much of the book I didn't enjoy compared to be able to give it that full 3. Too many personal stories, then I didn't get as many.
Didn't relate well because personal stories can relate well.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I guess I was expecting more like tips and tricks and like how she makes time for fun or like how she finds things fun and that kind of regard for the book that we just like didn't get. It was more of the personal stories that just didn't end up connecting. So
yeah,
2.75 for me.
Yeah.
But now we're done with that one and on to the next. So you want to tell them what our new book club book is for Darby's birthday month?
Yes, it's my birthday month. So it's going to be February, and I did think, a romance would be good for February. And we haven't done a romance in a while. So we are going to read Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, which I've never read any Tessa Bailey romance books, but I'm a big Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez fan, and I looked it up, and Tessa Bailey's supposed to be similar writing to them, so I'm hoping that I really like this. But I'll read the book summary on the back. So this is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. Holly Welch fell hard for Julian Voss at 14, after they almost kissed in the dark vineyards of his family's winery. Now the prodigal hottie has returned to their small town. When Hallie is hired to revamp the gardens of the Voss estate, she wonders if she'll finally catch that smooch. But the grumpy professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and their polar opposite personalities clash spectacularly. One wine-fueled girls' night later, Hallie can't shake the sense that she did something reckless, and then she remembers the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. Oh shit. On sabbatical from his Ivy League job, Julian plans to. Typo. Sorry. You're good. On sabbatical from his Ivy League job, Julian plans to write a novel. But having Hallie gardening right outside his window is the ultimate distraction. She's eccentric, chronically late, often literally covered in dirt, and so unbelievably beautiful he can't focus on anything else. Until he finds an anonymous letter sent by a woman from his past. Even as Julian wonders about this admirer, he's sucked further into Hallie's orbit. Like the flowers she plants all over town, Hallie is a burst of color in Julian's grayscale life. For a man who irons his socks and runs on tight schedules, her sunny, chaotic energy makes zero sense. But there's something so familiar about her, and her very presence is turning his world upside down.
Cute!
I'm sensing some grumpy sunshine.
Yep, that is definitely being given from the book description.
But I'm excited to read this one, and I hope people will join our Fable Book Club through the link in the show description so that you can also join us in reading this and our live thoughts.
Yeah, I'll get our thoughts and opinions as we read it instead of waiting for the episode.
Mm-hmm. You can also find that link in our Instagram bio at Lazy Girl Library.
So now on to borrows and returns, what we've actually been reading up until this point. You want to take us away there, Darby?
Sure. We did not stop by Wendy's this time around. But so for my returns, obviously That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs. We already talked about that. 3 stars. Another 3 stars, I read Guild, which is part of the Plated Prisoners series by Raven Kennedy. I did not think I was going to like this. I'm not really into super dark, like, romance and fantasy. But I, didn't hate it. So I'm not, itching to read the next book. But I think if I'm, looking for something or, in, a rut, I'd maybe, continue the series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was all right.
I read it a while ago, and you kind of you piqued my curiosity again. I'm like, I might go back and read the second one of that.
Yeah. So it was good. It was average. 3 stars. Right now I'm reading Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which I've heard a little bit of mixed reviews. Most of them have been super positive.
I mean, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and then I've heard just a couple that weren't into it. So I'm only 30 pages in and I'm not hooked yet. The world building for me has been a bit difficult, so it's feeling like Crescent City a little bit. He's introducing things and then not necessarily explaining what they are, what they mean.
Gotcha.
Which I get, there has to be that in world building where you just kind of have to keep reading and you'll figure it out. But this feels like a lot of it. I just don't know. But again, I'm still super early on.
Sure.
So we're going to keep reading.
I'll be curious to see what you think.
Yeah. What about you?
For my returns, I finished Wretched by Emily McIntyre, and that was a 4 stars. So this one was based off of The Wizard of Oz, kind of like Never After retelling, where the villain, the Wicked Witch of the West, gets the happy ending. Again, these books, are they the best written books I've ever read? Absolutely not. Were there a lot of plot holes in it? Absolutely. Did I still eat it up? Yes, I did.
Well, especially with Wicked.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. I didn't even pick it out that way. That was just so happened to be the next one in the series for me to read. Now they're standalones, but I still like to go in order. Yeah. But it was perfect because I did just watch Wicked the week before. So I was already in that mood, and I already talked about, I love the little Easter eggs and the little details that tie in because it's urban retelling, so it's not magical fantasy at all.
So it's kind of fun.
It is. It's fun how you take a fairy tale and make it real, and how they tie in those connections and things like that.
It reminds me of the show Once Upon a Time.
Yes, very much so. It's if Once Upon a Time didn't have any of the magic in it, that's what these books are with the dark romance, and I eat it up. So that was really good. For my borrows, I did start Carval by Stephanie Garber, and I'm loving it so far. I'm 70% the way through. I thought I might be able to finish it by the time we recorded, but alas, I did not. But I am really enjoying it. Just like you said, it's very different than your typical setting for a fantasy book, which I really, really appreciate.
Yes.
So
it's so fun.
Yes, I already bought the next 2 or the last 2 in the trilogy. So really excited to finish that and continue on in that journey. But I will be taking a break afterwards to read a book called The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. I really hope I didn't butcher that name. This one is a special one for me because I got it for my grandma for Christmas. So she was finally ready to sit down and read it. So we're gonna do our own mini book club with it.
I love that.
So yeah, I'm excited for that one. So once I finish Carvel, I'll go on to that, and then we'll hop back into the Carvel series.
Yay!
So those are my borrows and returns. A little short and sweet for me.
I love that. I mean, same amount as me. So short and sweet. We love it. We love you, listeners. Let us know if you read the book, what you thought, or if we went on lots of tangents. Let us know just if you related to anything we said or if you have thoughts on what we were talking about.
Yeah, you can catch us on Instagram at Lazy Girl Library, our website, lazygirllibrary.com.
Yeah,
Find us on Fable. Come talk to us. We love new friends.
I love to talk. That brings me joy.
Yes.
All right. Have a great night. It's night for us. Have a great night, guys,
Night,
or day, or
day,
morning.
Wherever you're
life.
at. Bye, guys.
Well, dear listeners, we find ourselves at the end of another episode. And remember, the Lazy Girl Library is not just a podcast, it's a community. We absolutely love hearing from fellow book lovers, so don't forget to share your thoughts and your favorite reads with us on our social media. You can find us on Instagram at Lazy Girl Library. Make sure to check out our website, lazygirllibrary.com, your one-stop shop for all things Lazy Girl. Before we go, we want to take a moment to thank all of our wonderful listeners. Whether you're listening from your cozy bed, on your way to work, or anywhere in between, thank you for making us a part of your day and for being a part of our Lazy Girl family. So keep those pages turning, keep those imaginations flourishing, and remember, the best stories are yet to be discovered. Until next time, stay lazy and happy reading.